pulling away from over there. I don't know, y'all. I got two different things when that video ended. Somebody hoped somebody died, and it says she will be booked. So I don't know who that was for. I don't really care. You know, at this point, I just feel like I just wish a lot of people would do their job, and they be so concerned about the wrong shit and not concerned about the right stuff, and it makes you question whether or not they have anything to do with it. We already seen corruption, and then we have these, you know, I've been getting RICO crimes for the longest. And so you got embezzlement with that, you got money laundering, drug trafficking, and then here you have is a whole city of people who pretending to not know what's going on, including the police officers that don't seem to know what's going on. So y'all, I don't know. I know it's not all of them. Some of them can be trusted, but you know, you got some of them that can't be trusted. They can't wait to do something wrong here. Corrupt officers should spend their time in jail too. They shouldn't have so much access to stuff. They shouldn't even be officers for one, because they get paid from our money, our tax dollars. A lot of time, those millionaires and billionaires that they be taking up for to try to get their little cut of the money, they don't even pay their taxes. So you're not even, like, you ain't getting paid from them. At least not with the job that you're doing. We're supposed to be for the city, for the people who are actually paying you to do your job. And so when you want to take money from other people to participate in corrupt things, then you shouldn't be doing a job for the city. You need to go and work for them. Because you can't take bigger money to not do your job. That's the problem. You know, it's so, we have so much corruption going on here. And so many people scared to stand up and say something about it, because so many people worried about what's going to happen to them, what's going to happen to their money, how is this going to affect them and their pockets. It's going to affect your pockets anyway at some point, because these people that are able to continue to get away with stuff, continue to manipulate with stuff, eventually they're going to be getting away with something that's going to hit right close to home. And so while y'all watching them and know very well what's going on and won't say anything because it don't have nothing to do with you, you're going to want somebody to say something when it does have something to do with you, or your uncle, or your cousin, or your brother, or your sister you want to be freed because they going through some corruption out here. And so I was just saying, you know, what does he say? You get into good trouble. And so, I mean, I guess if my mouth is gonna get me into trouble because I'm standing up for myself, ain't nobody else gonna do it. And nobody else out here standing up for me. People watch you go through stuff, and a lot of people being paid just to pretend like they don't know anything. Especially when it comes down, I already said that, especially when it comes down to a enforcement. People in the justice system that you expect to be there to help you, but they pretending like they don't know anything. Not all of them. Not all of them. We're not going to blame them all. But some of them definitely pretending like they don't know anything. And we know the truth. But all that does is create like distrust between the community people and law enforcement. You don't know who to trust, so you don't trust any of them. When I was growing up, I was young. I don't even think I was a teenager yet. I wasn't. So I didn't even have kids yet, y'all. Wasn't even supposed to be out by myself, but I was. Um, I used to like to go and visit my mother, my mother a lot because she pretty much just let me do whatever I wanted to do over there. Because I would barely spend time over there. So to a certain extent, for the longest, she didn't discipline me. She didn't want to discipline me. She let me get away with a lot because I was barely around. And so I would be, not doing anything bad per se, but I would, I would be hanging out over there like I couldn't do at home. And so she lived in Pritchard at the time. It's like the hood part of it. So I always say I had like the best of both worlds. I grew up in the suburbs, kind of a mixed community. But when I would go to visit my mother, it's like you stepping into a whole different era over there because that's where she stayed at, kind of in the hood. And so I got a chance to see both, but I know, you would hear a lot of things about corrupt officers over there, and it's so funny because people you knew were selling drugs out there. Back then it's nothing like right now. Right now they've kind of modernized everything. Like everything has been innovated, so to speak. um, so back then people used to stand out on the corner a lot. That's how they did what they did. They stood out all the time on the corner, and you know exactly what they out there to do. But the police would hit the corner, and they scatter. They scatter. You see people running in all different directions, trying to get off the corner. They throwing their stuff in the bushes, and all kind of. It'd be all kind of nonsense when they hit the corner. You just see a bunch of people just go. You already knew what it was. And so there was a lot of, even back then, they would talk about the corrupt police officers back then. Because there were a few in particular that used to come through there. And they know exactly where they're going to. And they would go straight to the ones who had the drugs that they knew had them. And they wouldn't take that person to jail, but they just always take what that person had. And it's crazy. It's like you gotta ask yourself what they doing with it. What are they doing with it? So yeah, like I said, they would never go to jail. They just always just take the person's stuff. People be around there mad as hell because you can't really do nothing because it's the police that's doing it to you. And so you hear a lot of stories about people, they knew the names of these certain ones. And for the most part of it, it'd be less so the uniform police, but more so the undercover ones. Like the narcotics cops, the ones that be riding around in the D-boy cars. Them. But it was the other ones too. But for the most part of it, it was just those ones that it's like undercovers, but they weren't really undercover. Everybody knew who they was. And I guess they would use the whole undercover thing. I don't know, I guess it's just like a look. And so when you coming through, if you driving different vehicles, nobody know who you are until you jumped out on them. And they would call them back then like the jump out boys. Because they pull up and they jump out. You never know who they was because they would be driving the regular cars, the most hood cars, you know. Anyway, I remember this one officer in particular. I had to have been like 10 or 11 like this. I had no business at all walking them streets by myself. Not during the day, not during the night. But I would always be out there, uh, just walking to different places. And so one night particular, it was a night. Night hadn't fell yet. It was like late afternoon, late evening. And I was walking, and one of the undercovers like pulled up on side of me and asked me if I wanted a ride. I can tell from the kind of car that he was driving. The car wasn't a police car. I'm trying to think what kind of car it was. I'm not really good with cars, y'all. Maybe like a Caprice or something, like a Chevy Caprice. So it wasn't exactly a police car, but you knew that car, like that car went with the police. It matched them. Like they pull up. A lot of times, some of them be driving them cars that look like that, and you didn't see like the windows and stuff would be tinted, so you didn't. It wasn't like they had the lights at the top. The lights would be inside. And only if they hit the button on it, you would even know that the lights were there. One of those type of police. You knew that they were police because you seen a lot of what went on over there. But it wasn't a regular police car. So anyway, he asked me if I wanted a ride, and me thinking to myself, this is a police officer, so I shouldn't fear him. As a child, your discernment is kind of off sometimes. And so I'm thinking, this is a police officer, so there's no need to fear him. Not thinking about the fact that those are the same police officers that pull up, that be taking them boys drugs from them and not reporting anything about it. So, they doing something with them. They either taking them themselves or they going back and selling it themselves. They doing something with it. But me back then, you don't put two and two together. I just automatically assumed it was the nice guy. You look at the police and you think they're supposed to be for you. As a child, that's what you think. As I guess in the area I grew up in, at least, you're supposed to feel that way. But then you come to the other side, the hood side, and it's like a different feel. The police you really can't trust over there. So anyway, I got in the car, and as we driving, I remember he asked me if I wanted something to smoke. And as we turn the block, around, that's what he was looking for. Somebody to be out there where he can buy something to smoke from. And this was the police officer, y'all. Asked me if I wanted something to drink. At that point, I got kind of paranoid. Because I'm like, he talking to me a little bit too slick. At that point, I'm trying to figure out what he trying to do with me. And this is the police officer. He ain't offering me to smoke and drink just so I can get out the car later on and appreciate the ride. And again, I wasn't even a teenager. I got pregnant with my son when I was 12 years old. And I didn't even have a child then. And so this was, I had to have been every bit of 10 or 11. I was kind of big for a child, I was kind of shapely as a child, believe it or not, but it wasn't to the point where you wouldn't know I was a child. And so he knew exactly what he was doing. And it just got real uncomfortable. It's one thing when you offer me something to smoke, which was weed he was talking about. Um, he ain't never smoked nothing else, y'all. Cigarettes at one point. But anyway, it just kind of got a little bit creepy when he was asking me if I wanted something to drink, because clearly I'm not even a teenager yet, let alone old enough to drink. And so, yeah, I just asked him to drop me off after he went around a little while in an attempt to find somebody out there who trusted him enough, because he was like cool with some of them. Some people, they didn't like the ones who would pull up and take their stuff, but this one was one who made friends with him. He was cool with the ones out there. It just so happened to not be any out there on that day. So after he went around through, I think that was the village he went around in. I just, I played it like we was near where I wanted to go when I got on out the car, because I started feeling real uncomfortable. Anyway, I said all that just to say, you know, it's sad to say, but you can't trust them all. You can't trust them all. You want to teach your kids that you can trust them. At a certain point, we didn't even want to do that, because so many of us was being shot and killed for doing just regular things. Children just being children, and they getting shot for no reason. And so we look at that as like a race thing, but it's so funny because even the ones who are our own color, you can't trust all of them as well. It's not just a race thing. It's a moral thing. It's about morality. It's about having integrity with what it is that you're doing. And so yeah, it's not just non-melanated ones. It's us as well. Matter of fact, the ones who everybody feared, it was us back then. It was us. That one in particular that everybody was cool with. He knew what they did. They knew what he did. It was one of us. And you think, okay, well, that must be a cool one, because he ain't said anything. He let them do whatever it was they were doing. I mean, because when you think about it, it's not like somebody trying to unalive somebody. You got people out there simply trying to make a living. Not saying that it's a good thing, but just trying to make some type of money to be able to have, to, so they wouldn't be out there doing anything crazy that end up happening to somebody be here today and gone tomorrow type of thing. They're trying to make their money another way. May not have been the best way, but anyway, you thought those, you look and you say, well, maybe that's a good one. But just my experience alone, being in the car with him and him volunteering to buy me something to smoke and something to drink, and I was not even a teenager, it let me know everything I needed to know. I ain't have sense enough to not get in the car with him, but I had sense enough to know it was something not right about that. And so I quickly got up out of the car. I don't need a ride anymore. I really didn't need a ride to begin with, because I was used to just kind of walking. But yeah, it ain't. It's not a race thing. Like I said, it's more of an issue with integrity. And you'd be surprised how many people you think you can trust that lack it. And so yeah, that's why I look at a lot of them now and you say you don't know who to trust and who not to trust. You see the ones that do certain things and you automatically feel like you can trust them, but just because you feel like you can trust them, you'll mess around and be around somebody you think you can trust and it be one you really can't trust, but they knew you thought you can trust them from certain things. And that was the whole reason they did certain things, to gain your trust, to be able to manipulate you in some type of way. It's 4:44, y'all. Is it that late for real? 21:22 on my timer here. Yeah, it's 4:44. And so yeah, you can't trust them all. Some people, everybody don't do their job because they want to see certain people protected, you know. Some people just do that job that they do to have money, to have power. It's, a lot of people get into the job more so for power. They've been and went through their own things as a child. They should have gotten some type of counseling, some type of therapy for. But they get in these positions of power and then they take that anger out on other people who have nothing to do with the way you grew up in your life. But that's all they know. A lot of times we all just a product of our environment, and when you grow up in a certain way, let's say they grew up being bullied, they never took the time to get some help about it or never took the time to heal themselves, then a lot of times they're going to be the bullies. And not saying that this particular office was any of the such. I'm not calling him corrupt. I'm not saying he was a bully. He didn't do anything but tell me to move, and the video had been going for an hour, so I've been sitting right there for an hour. And so he was within his right to tell me to move. He was within his right to tell me to move. You know, it just kind of, I get PTSD sometimes, you know, and it just reminds me of the security from the other place. And then you get to thinking about security people in general and how they've just never had your back. Like for these last couple of years, I've been literally getting attacked by security people and officers. Before I lost my job, yeah, and yeah, let's just say, yeah, for the last couple of issues, people who you think supposed to protect you, it seem like they kind of been in on things. That's what I'll say. Seem like they just be kind of letting things slide. And so it just kind of irritated my soul. The fact that he got time enough to say something about that, and then you got all this going on right in your area, and y'all don't seem to be doing anything about it. Like, what are y'all doing? It's like y'all so passive when it comes down to the major things. What about this stuff going on? The RICO crimes that's going on, the money laundering, the violations of people's civil rights here, the stalking, the bullying. What about all this stuff that's going on, you know? I'm in the same city. You know, I just drove to come back over here, but it's the same city. The same ones over there, the same ones over here. Ain't like it's two different parts of town. Or it's the same county, I would say that. Not the same city, but the same county. both here and there. So if y'all ain't got nothing else better to do but to drive around and say, hey, you can't park here, like, I could think of a job y'all could be doing that y'all just seem to be just kind of brushing off here, pretending like y'all don't see what's going on. So yeah, it just kind of irritated me. It's like, just go and do a real job. Just go and do a real job. Cause I won't bother nobody by sitting right there. Car still running, but it wasn't no parking zone. I give him that. It wasn't like the lady, the security lady who just randomly pulled up on me yesterday. When I hadn't been sitting there for 5 minutes, I literally pulled up next to a trash can, put some stuff in the trash, and proceeded to wash off some vegetables I had in the car with a water bottle. Then here she come. And here she come. Like, dang, I wasn't even here in but a couple of minutes. And here y'all come. Again, it takes me back to all the harassment I received from the security in Vegas. And it just kind of irritates my soul because, again, the very people you expect to protect you or your things, and it's your money that's paying for the protection. As we as taxpayers, we pay their salaries. These officers, um, in Vegas, I'm paying. I paid extra. This wasn't no just open parking lot. At least not in a few of those hotels, and one of them parking lot was open. But that's what security is for. That's what they pay you for. Yeah, but in a few of those parking lots, it's like you're paying extra for your things to be secure, and it's not being secure. Camera footage just mysteriously disappearing. Nobody got nothing on it. Everybody up there playing dumb. But they know what's going on when it go on enough to be able to react to it. And so when you say something smart, they can hear you say that. So they know what's going on with you. Because if they tapped in enough to know what you be thinking, then they tapped in enough to know the situation of things. And so you just know it's something they got paid to do or not do. And so even then, you got to wonder where this money coming from to be able to pay people to shut up, just pretend like nothing's happening, to be able to just pay for certain security footage to just disappear. You ain't got nothing from that night. While my car was driven off out of the parking lot and back into the parking deck. You got no footage from it, but you got footage from every other time that I came in and came out, from all the other days that I've been here. All that footage you have, but this particular night at this particular time, you have nothing. And that was security, because the person I talked to that found it being a big deal, just like I did, said once I talked to the person in security, they were supposed to call who they called, who they referenced as Metro, which was the main police department, I guess, for that area. They didn't. He volunteered to look at my car himself, and that's exactly what he did. Looked at it, asked me if I seen anything. I told him a few things that I noticed about it. It was still nothing done. I had to ask about the footage myself for him to even go in and look at it, and then when he came back out, he had footage from another day. not even regarding that day. And I'm like, okay, well, what about this? What about this time at this night? And there's no footage from that. I didn't see anything. And so you just know a lot of people are being paid to do this. A lot of people just being paid to be quiet or even at some points participate in this. It's a lot of money moved around. When you talk about generational wealth, that's something like nobody puts their job on a risk when it on the line when it comes down to small things. Small amount of money is not paying all of these people to do what it is that they're doing or not doing. And so you know it's got to be millions at stake here for people to just brush it off as if nothing happened, for you to be followed from state to state to make sure you don't say anything, or make sure, you don't have anything to keep trying to destabilize you. Because I was followed from state to state. I thought when I left here, I was going to be leaving all the drama, all the confusion, but I didn't. It just followed. I knew I was being followed on the highway. When I got to certain hotels, I knew I was being followed in. A lot of hotels I was in, I felt like had cameras in, just like my apartment. I literally was followed from one side of the U.S. from to the other side of the U.S. Completely different side. And so you have crime that's not only taking place here in the state of Georgia, in Atlanta, uh, but you got it taking place through the different states, which I think is like a whole nother crime in itself. For it to take place in the different states. So organized crime. Again, RICO crimes. It's an organized crime by a group of people. Definitely involves some type of entities as well, businesses, maybe even corporations. That's taking place from one state to another. I figured that, going through all the stuff I was going through in Vegas, I may as well just come back here and go through it. But it's so funny. I decided to go to Cali anyway, and that particular part I was in, I actually like. Um, yeah, it's corruption everywhere. So I know it's there too. But it didn't seem like it with the people that I dealt with. Everybody had good energy. They all seem to have good intentions. Everything was for the most part of it good, at least when I got to a particular area. Because, man, there was this one asshole over near Venice Beach. Yeah, he kind of irritated my soul. You can tell he was just kind of waiting to say something. And they were all just being, like, I don't know. I just didn't like that energy over there. I didn't like it at all. But when I moved, when I left and went to a different area, everything fine. Everything was good. And I actually thought about staying there. I wanted to just stay there. And there was this debate I was having with myself. Do I actually want to come back here or just stay there? And I came back here, I mean, for several different reasons. But one of them was being my grandson. I just kind of missed him. I wanted to see him. I hadn't seen him in a while. But you think after I've been gone for so long, things will be different when I come back. But it wasn't. Like I said, if it followed me from state to state, I don't know why I thought it was going to be different once I got back. You being watched from state to state, like you were being followed from state to state. And so I don't know why I was surprised that when I got back here, it was literally the same day the harassment started all over again. It wasn't even like a grace period. It wasn't a little bit of time before. You wasn't given a breather. As soon as I got back, it started. And I just remember being so irritated. I had to cry for a second. Sometimes you need that release. And I remember just sitting there and just crying because it was horrible. Because you just get tired. It's like, how long is this going to continue to happen? With everybody pretending like they don't know anything. And like I say, to a certain extent, like they doing what they feel like they can get away with. Because the minute you report it, you're going to look crazy with certain things. And that's the way it's made for you to look crazy. That's the way they want you to look. Because it helps them with whatever it is they're trying to do. So you talk about the cameras in your house, they're going to call you crazy. You talk about certain people in these positions of power that you expect to be there to protect you, but they seem like they more so harassing you. And I'm not talking about this man in particular. I'm talking about what I was dealing with before I got fired from that job. Because they were there, coming right there at the job. You got to deal with harassment from the people at the job. Yeah, you talk about the cyberbullying. Probably look like you crazy there. To everybody who doesn't know any better, the people who know, they know. You don't look crazy to them. They know exactly what you're talking about, and they know that people are capable of doing it, and they know that people do it. But that doesn't mean they're gonna step up and have your back when it comes down to it, because they so concerned about if it's gonna happen to them. Or like I said, some people just getting paid to just pretend to not see it, to turn the other cheek. Other people worried about careers and what's going to happen to their money. If they're going to start getting the harassment from different people in positions of power, they have to be concerned about their family. Yeah, I definitely have to find an attorney. But everything in me is telling me the people here, ain't nobody here doing anything. So it make you wonder, Who's gonna actually be for you? Who's gonna actually help you? You know, you don't want to waste your time with one of those attorneys who you think is for you, but it's actually for them. You know, somebody's gonna purposely sabotage whatever it is, the case or whatever it is. Somebody who's gonna act like it's not what it is. Somebody who's gonna be in with them versus doing their job. Because a lot of like that's a lot of the issue that we have. These people who have jobs to do just neglecting to do their job because of what they're being paid, or because of their own reasons. Maybe they just don't like you for whatever reason. Like that's not what you paid to do here. I've been on here for 41 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. I'm gonna come back and do another one now because I'm about to pull some cards and see what's in this energy. I'll be back.